All righty, here we go. Stochastic, jumping right into the show here because we have a hard out at 11 a.m. because there is college football week 2 action. You're going to get Matt Gajeski and Ben Raza on the College Football Live Before Lock. But right now, you're going to get myself and Matt Belamn. We're going to talk a little bit of baseball today, wall-to-wall baseball, but everybody's handling it differently. DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo all choosing different featured slates. They're kind of coalescing around the 5-game slate with the games starting at 7 o'clock. But even then, the contests are a little bit wonky and differently sized because all eyes are on football for tomorrow. So we've got a little bit of fun here. Matt, how was your Friday? I got to catch part of your show where I wasn't actually on it with you. I enjoyed that with you and I think it was Engelman the other day.
Yeah, it was Engelman. It was pretty good. Nothing too crazy. Trying to think about like who you needed last night. The Mets were awful.
Flores.
Wilmer Flores was really good. That's kind of what hurt me. Not like I was going to win anything, but San Fran just kind of moved past me. You know what I mean? Like moved past both my lines after they hit the back-to-back homers. So wasn't a great night. Wasn't the worst night in the world. So you know how that goes. Excited to get on here and talk to you about today, though.
Absolutely. But we're remind everybody here that we do have the Stochastic Podcast Network. You have the opportunity to leave a 5-star review and a rating, and we are going to choose 3 that are the best. Those are going to be chosen, I believe, on Monday. So you need to do this today or tomorrow, but just take the time. Go write a review on anywhere you find us for podcasts. And you will be put into the contest to win 1 full year of the Stochastic NFL Sims, the Max package. You're going to want to take advantage of this. It's going to come and go. You're going to say, oh, I'm going to remember to do this. Do this now. Thank me later, but do this now. Last I checked, well, I haven't checked for this promo, but knowing how it works, we'll probably get about 30 or 40 reviews. Do you have a 1 in 40 chance? Well, let's say 1 in 50 chance. A free NFL Stochastic Sims package for the entire season. I don't know what else to say. You're crazy to not go.
Can't really beat that.
No. All right. What else do we have? We're brought to you by Owner's Box. We're going to be talking about them a lot because they are one of the new DFS sites out there. Their football format has a super flex, meaning you can no defense, and the defense position has been replaced by you play whatever you want. You can play 2 quarterbacks, add in an extra receiver, tight end, running back, etc. We do have sims for those as well. But if you sign up now, coming in through our link that is in the YouTube description below us here, you will get up to a $500 deposit match. You're also going to get one $5 lightning round ticket and a second $5 ticket. Well, what do you get for this? Well, you got to put in $10. They'll match it. You can go up to 500 and they'll match that. And you're also going to get 1 month of Stochastic NFL Sims package. This deal goes away tomorrow. Okay? Don't dilly-dally on this stuff. All right, now that we got the important stuff out of the way, let's talk baseball. We're just going to kind of give our thoughts for the pitching and the stacks. We'll start with pitching for anything below or before 7 o'clock today, just because everybody's chopping this stuff up differently. That just doesn't make much sense to go into it game by game. And additionally, there's not gigantic prize pools either because college football is going on right now. So looking at the first half of this, I think you've got the best pitchers, Matt, are probably going to be Justin Steele and Merrill Kelly. They're squaring off against each other, not the easiest of offenses, respectively. But this game has a 7.5 implied run total right now, which is incredibly low. We have Kevin Gausman going against the Royals. It's a pretty good matchup for him. And then I guess Bobby Miller going against the Nationals. Those are the guys that are popping up for me. Now, that's a couple on the 2 o'clock slate and then a couple on the 4 o'clock there. Who's standing out for you? Do you want to break down any of those guys?
Yeah, a bit different than you. I think Gausman's the top guy here just because of the matchup. You know, he's more expensive than Steele or Kelly. Both those guys are having similar years in terms of production from Gausman. I think Gaussman's the better DFS pitcher between those guys. Steele doesn't, strike out a ton of guys. Kelly's solid, but he ultimately doesn't have that upside either. I do think that those are like the 3 top guys on the slate, and you can kind of put them in any order you want. Bobby Miller looks too cheap here. I hate the matchup against Washington. They just don't strike out a lot. We've seen this time and time again. So I get it at 8,200, but I do think that like Gaussman, Steele, and Kelly are the top 3 guys. I mean, if you just want to play Kelly and Steele together and not set all the way up on Gaussman, I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, and sometimes people say, "Oh, that's not where they get 2 pitcher wins." You're not going to get 2 pitcher wins more often than not. And by the way, even when you play both those guys against each other, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to get a win either because it's going to go to the bullpen. So even when you play, rough math says about 30 to somewhere between 35 and 38% of the time a starting pitcher gets the win in the game. And there's 2 starting pitchers that are going after that. Just how baseball is these days with relievers and really good offenses that can erase a lead rather quickly and then give it back later in the game. So my notes here on Gaussman were over his last 4 starts, he has a 5.8 ERA and almost a 300 batting average against. Now that's just in 20 and a third innings. He does have a 365 FIP during that time. So fielding independent pitching. So we're trying to neutralize some of the noise. For the season, he has under a 3 FIP. So he's still been a little bit unlucky. A lot of this is a 390 batting average against on balls in play. So that's a really big number. So we hope that he's getting a little bit better here. The projected lineup has a 25% strikeout rate against righties. And Gaussman is second in the league. He's behind only Spencer Strider for strikeouts per 9, and he has 11.7. I think he and Snell technically are tied. I didn't pull the numbers after Snell's start last night, but they're essentially 1 and 2. Or Strider's in his own level. And then these guys are next. So that's the case for Gaussman. The wind is blowing in Wrigley. Again, I've talked about this on the show before. It's not, the Wrigley wind is not what it used to be, and people keep insisting that it is. You can tell in the run totals that it's there, but it's more like a half a run, maybe a run when it's dramatically going in or dramatically going out. That used to be 2 or 3 runs. Right. This used to be the Coors Field before Coors Field existed once upon a time. Those afternoon Cubs games were a lot of fun to watch on WGN Superstation.
Yeah, they were.
All righty. I could watch them, but not the Mariners because we didn't get the local Seattle channel where I lived in the eastern part of the state. So I could see Turner, TNT. We had, I guess it was TNT or TBS. I forget which one was first. And then we had WGN, both the super stations, and we had like 9 cable channels, and those were 2 of them, and we didn't have the Seattle cable channel, even though it was 150 miles away from us. So I watched a lot of Andre Dawson, Bob Horner for Dale Murphy. Those are some of the guys I watched. Chat's going, who the hell are these guys? Yeah, they're the old guys that cruise through the announcers booths when they're doing the old timers weeks. That's who I grew up watching. So
that's funny.
The other, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing about Gaussman, because I was looking into this a little bit, before we started the video. So you're right. Like he's not in ace Kevin Gaussman form right now. He just hasn't pitched that well recently. But when you look at the matchups, not like it's murderer's row, but in Colorado. So you give him a little bit of a mulligan in Coors. Washington, who he was fine against, but Washington doesn't strike out a lot. At Baltimore, which is a really tough matchup, and he actually pitched decent. And then Philly at home, he struggled. Philly's good. So I do think this is a really nice landing spot for Gaussman. I would be surprised if he has one of his rough starts here. That said, he is really expensive. So I don't think he's a priority, but he's my favorite pitcher on the slate. That's all I got.
Yeah. That makes sense. I see some people are saying those super channels. Those were way back in the day. Yes. And Clayton SQ says, had to love Jeff Blauser. My favorite players were, I liked Bob Horner because he would hit home runs. Andre Dawson, of course. So he was just so cool. He just looked cool. And then Ozzie Smith and Vince Coleman and their base stealing ways. That was, to me, stealing the base. Well, and Ozzie doing the backflips was always fun. But I'd see those teams a lot because you get both 2 NL channels, right? And that was back when the leagues there was no interleague play. So you got to see, I got to see a lot of the National League growing up.
All I can think about from watching WGN is Cardinals at Cubs. That's like literally what comes to mind.
Yeah, just those massive rivalries, right? Those were always. Oh, Sean Dunston, yeah, he was pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
with the unique way of spelling Shawan Dunston. He's a good, yeah. There's some good names out there. Ryan Sandberg, right?
Well, he's like the classic, right?
Yeah, he actually was from Washington State, the eastern half. So
that's probably why he spells his name so weird.
Probably. A few more thoughts here on just Bobby Miller's the other one I wanted to call out. So just talk about a rotation. I mean, setting aside the idiocy of Trevor Bauer and now Julio Urias, just come on, guys, idiots. Walker Buehler out, Tony Gonsolin out, Dustin May out. Those guys are all going to have had or are in the recovery process of Tommy John. Gavin Lux out with the knee. Michael Grove out with the lat. They're actually in rehabilitation starts, but that's a full starting rotation right there.
Yeah.
That's just out. So you've got Bobby Miller has actually been a steady contributor. 17 starts, 9-3 record, 3.8 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, almost 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. So not DFS good, but baseball good. And the only worry that we really have, other than as Matt pointed out, the Nationals do have not a lot of strikeouts in their lineup, is Miller's at a career high in innings. So that's, the strikeouts are going to be a little tough to come by. The Nationals don't have any power. Quality start is in play here, but he's at his innings career highs. So sometimes things can go a little sideways there. Those were the main things I had. Let's look at.
He's good though. Like, just to touch on that point, I do agree with you. Like, if you're not spending up Gausman, Steele, Kelly, I do think Miller's the clear next guy. You don't really feel comfortable with any of the cheap pitchers. Miller is actually good, like you said. I mean, he's not the best DFS pitcher right now, but I mean, you see it in his game log. He just pitched one of the best starts any pitcher's had all year against Atlanta. So, kind of tells you all you need to know.
All right, I see someone say yes. It's Ryan Sandberg.
Ryne.
Pronouncing it correctly, but that was back in the day. So he was from the big city on the eastern side of Washington State is Spokane, and when we were kids we would always laugh because we would get the channels from that city instead of Seattle, even though we were right in between the two of them. I mean, 5 hours to one and 3 hours to the other, but we got the eastern side of the state. So that was back when they'd always say, you call in 1-800 blah 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 1234 to order something on TV, and then they'd list the mailing address because we didn't have the internet, so you had to send checks in or whatever. And you could tell if it was somebody that wasn't around because they would pronounce it and this is on TV, the actual Spokane, Washington, and we would just laugh.
That's so funny.
Again, not a lot happening in the 70s and early 80s.
Yes.
All righty. Let's turn our attention here to stacks, and then again we'll go game by game here when we do the 5-game main slate. So the Yankees going against Wade Miley. They have a 5 implied run total. Twins also are at 5. They're going against David Peterson. My dalliance with David Peterson ended in a spectacular public blow up. He broke up with me, poured soup on my head at the restaurant. It was horrible. We've got Toronto going against James McArthur, and I'm guessing potentially it could be Greinke today as the bulk reliever. It's his turn in the rotation. He last pitched on Sunday. They had an opener. It wasn't McArthur. I forget who it was. And then he came in for 3 or 4 innings. I kind of expect that to happen today, regardless of who comes in. If it's their lefty, I can't think of his name. It's a very unique name. But Zerpa. He can go 3 or 4 innings. Zerpa, thank you. I had Zaxby stuck in my mind. I drove from Virginia down here to Florida. And once you get in Southern Virginia, you start seeing Zaxby's everywhere. And I always want to stop. And my wife's like, we're not stopping at Zaxby's. I'm like, no, this looks great. So it's a mythical place I have yet to go to. But that was stuck in my mind. So Toronto's looking pretty good. They have Bo Bichette back, which is helpful. And then you've got the Nationals. They've got Jake Irvin going out there. That's a tall order against the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are without Mookie Betts, likely for this weekend series. Fouled the ball off his foot. So that means someone could get promoted to leadoff spot here. What are you liking among the stacks?
I do think it's the Dodgers and then everyone else. We saw Mookie out last night. Chris Taylor led off. That was against Gore. Not sure what they'll do against a righty here. Maybe it's Peralta. Maybe it's Taylor because he's red hot right now. I mean, it's the Dodgers and then everyone else. This almost looks like a core spot. They're the best offense on the slate. Irvin's not good. Good ballpark for hitting for them. I don't think they're in a spot where you necessarily have to use them because it is baseball. My counterpoint to that would be it does seem like pretty much every team is getting about the ownership they should get. So when that's the case, playing the best team often is the way to go. I think it's the Dodgers. I think Tampa looks really good. I'm surprised that they're kind of middle of the pack in our top stack tool, but they are coming in with some leverage. Interesting to me that Baltimore is right behind Toronto, even facing Sale. Reminds me last week, Sale's last start against Houston. We had Houston really high on our top stack tool. They were under-owned and they went off. Houston's been red hot lately, so keep that in mind. But Baltimore's a similar type offense where they can, really go nuts against anyone. So for me, I think it's the Dodgers. The Blue Jays, like you mentioned, with MacArthur and then probably Greinke coming in after that. And then there's a slew of teams that do look similar to me. Personally, I think Tampa is right after Toronto. So that's a team I'd be trying to get to.
Okay. Sorry. Do we know who's pitching for the Mariners? It was going to be Wu, but I'm seeing potentially an opener in Trent Thornton.
Hold on. Yeah, I guess we don't have that.
So it's okay. I wrote up two pitchers last night.
I see Thornton also.
Yeah, I wrote up two pitchers last night trying to get a jump on this today. Alex Cobb, who is pushed back for a few days because he got a cortisone shot in his hip. And then Charlie Morton, who I think is still listed as a starter, but Atlanta called up Dodd. Dylan Dodd, I think is his name. So I don't know for sure. And I was just like, really? Why? I spent 30 minutes writing that up. So I just like, F you guys. And then, by the way, Yarbrough looks like. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Yarbrough looks like the bulk guy tomorrow for the National or for against the Nationals. I saw that news and I almost thought they had pushed back Bobby Miller. And I was just going to be like, Jesus, the three pitchers I wrote up for my article. Yeah. Lost two of the three, basically.
I am seeing that it is going to be Weaver who's going to pitch the majority of the bulk innings, assuming he can survive. So I think it'll be Thornton and then Weaver.
Okay. Still, that's Tampa Bay, very good group of hitters here. I like to call out Tropicana Field, of course, not the most hitting friendly, but this lineup is usually well positioned to take maximum every little edge that's available against the opposition. So good call out there. So here's another fun one. The rookie for Toronto, Davis Schneider. So did you know anything about him before he suddenly appeared as their cleanup hitter?
No, he was just like a middling type prospect. Wasn't supposed to be anything special.
To the point of he was like a 24th or a 28th round draft pick out of high school. Congrats, in 2017. He's 24, right? Didn't make his debut until now. And he projects out basically to be a middle infielder, right? That like no pop in his bat, low 200 average, right? It's just like, all right, maybe he's a glove guy. So I've got my notes here. 28th round in the 2017 draft. In his 21 games this season, he has 17 walks and 17 extra base hits. He's averaging an extra base hit every 4 at-bats. That is just nuts. 67 at-bats. He has 9 home runs, I believe. His triple slash is 403, 535, 881. That's like beyond video game numbers. He's so scorching hot that they're hitting him clean up. This is not going to last. He broke Yahoo. At one point, they had him priced like $25. You don't play him on Yahoo when he's that high. But whoa, have you? This is just, I love baseball. This is just out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is so baseball. It's exactly what I was thinking too. You don't see this in other sports really. And again, you're right. It will not last, but it doesn't mean it's going to stop today. So that's like the fun part about it is he's clearly seeing the ball well right now. That's part of it. There's nothing we can really do analytically with that. But if you're stacking Toronto, you're surely not avoiding him. And I mean, again, like you basically just said it, but you look at his game log, not to be a game log watcher, but something to look at. He's got double digits in like 10 straight or like 8 straight games. That's impressive. Most guys don't have that.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I see Debonair is mentioning Tim Raines, Gorman Thomas, Ben Ogilvy. That's a good one. Ron Guidry, Dave Kingman. Some quality names. So I was messaging T. McBee last night and asking him, I was going over these numbers with him because I was looking, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's out of control. And so is the new rookie that's Jason Dominguez that's up for the Yankees, and he has, like, he's the youngest player to ever have 4 home runs in his first 7 games or something like that. And his nickname's The Martian. And so I was like, oh my God, that's a funny nickname. So I was messaging about that. And I said, where do you rank him on the pantheon of insanity? So callbacks, because that apparently is what we're doing today as we have a little less structured show. We'll get into the structure here in about 5 minutes and go over those last 5 games. But Kevin Moss for the Yankees, massive. It's some crazy like 19 home runs in his first month up or some insane thing like that. And then Shane Spencer were the 2 Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
He called out. Because, of course, he's got to call out Yankees as his team. But I was like, oh, yeah, I remember those guys. I brought up Kevin Moss, and then he brought up Shane Spencer. So, Broberian says
baseball's littered with guys like that, though. That's what's fun. Like, it just is.
Dom Brown, baby. Double Dom Brown had a 1-month hot streak early in the days of DFS shows. I was on with a guy named Baseball Nomad, Fantasy Nomad. And we back in the early RG days, and he would call him Double Dom Brown. So, the Broberian says going to Zaxby's to eat is like going to a dirty Kmart to find shoes. These are the mythical places, right? It seems fun. It seems exciting. And once I go, this happened to me with Smoothie King. Smoothie King, right? We don't have those in Virginia, or at least not in my area. So I always see Smoothie King Arena, right? And I'm like, oh, I want to go there. And I'm thinking it's a milkshake place. So I see there's one here, and I tell my wife's out, and she's like, oh my God, I'm parked right next to a Smoothie King. You want me to get you something? And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And I look up online. It's literally all health smoothies. I'm like, I wanted a milkshake. She's like,
yeah, their menu's actually really confusing now. I know what you mean, because a couple Smoothie Kings opened by like around us. I used to, when I went to college in New Orleans, there was, where you said Smoothie King Arena, there was a Smoothie King. This is obviously 20 years ago now, but it was really good. And now they've since opened a couple here, and I'm with you. I can't even read the menu. It's all.
Yeah, I'm like, looking, I'm like, I don't want any of this. And not that I'm against, I mean, I eat vegetables all the time and all that. Not that I don't mind healthy food, but I'm like, I wanted a burger and fries and a milkshake. They don't have that on the thing. And I'm like, well, I'll just get a sandwich. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's no sandwich. There's like 9 kinds of fruit salad and then 10 kinds of smoothie. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted.
That's funny.
Yeah, double shot of grass juice, says Obi-Wan. Yeah, that popped out at me. I'm like, the green juice or whatever. I'm like, no. And then so my wife comes home and she has it. She goes, oh, this was pretty good. We should go there again. I'm like, no, I never want to go there because it's not.
I will say, though,
not what I thought of.
Back on you a little bit, just to push back a little bit. How are you going to assume a place called Smoothie King has burgers and fries?
That was my mistake, because as soon as I saw the menu, I'm like, oh, they meant smoothies like health stuff, like kind of Orange Julius like. I was expecting like old school Orange Julius or whatever.
Okay.
I figured there'd be milkshakes.
That's amazing.
There was not. Sadly. All right. That kind of winds us through. I think we've hit almost everything. Going against Jake Irvin. I sort of mentioned that that Mookie Betts is out. We will probably see Hayward or Peralta leading off would be my guess. Long shot for James Outman, but they're going to put one of their lefty guys up there to get him extra.
I actually think it's going to be Taylor.
Do you think it'll be Chris Taylor?
I actually think it's going to be
Taylor. He led off last night, right?
Yeah. He did, and I know score, but they also didn't pinch hit at all, even when righties came in, and he's seeing the ball well right now. So, like, I know Dave Roberts is probably keeping that in mind.
No, that's a good call out. Well, it's either him or what? Colton Wong, Miguel Rojas, not leading off, but playing in the field.
Man, I had a Dodger stack last night. That was like the one thing that kept me afloat. There was a rain delay late. They ended up continuing the game, but I had Ahmed Rosario, Colton Wong pinch hit for him. I'm not even sure that Colton Wong isn't as good as Ahmed Rosario right now.
Yeah, Rosario. I don't know. All righty. What else do we have here? We mentioned, I'm going to mention the owner's box thing again, because this is a really good deal. So going through our the link in the description below us here, if that doesn't work, message me on Twitter. I know there was a bad link, but we fixed all of them now. I can give you the promo code if you guys need that as well. I don't happen to have it up right now. But they've got a massive football contest for tomorrow, $50,000 up top. They're doing a $500 deposit bonus match. You need to sign up and deposit $10. When you deposit those $10, they're going to give you a $5 lightning lineup entry and another $5 contest ticket. So basically free. Oh, and by the way, when you come in through our link, you're going to get 1 month of NFL Max Sims package. That deal ends tomorrow night. So don't dilly-dally on that one. And then again, you guys have already forgotten, those listening on this via the podcast. Give us a podcast review. That goes through the end of tomorrow as well. We're doing choosing the best one. Laffy and a couple others are going to be judging it. And Laffy said, hey, anything goes. You want to be funny? You want to celebrate wins? You want to tug on our heartstrings? We're going to pick our favorite one. There will be 3 prizes, but the main prize, their favorite one, is going to get the full season Max Sims for NFL. That's like $1,000 value. Just leave the video. Just go right. Stop now. If you're listening to your podcast, pause this or set an alarm in your phone and write that review, because you're going to forget, and then you're going to be pissed on Monday when you find out that, there was only 36 people wrote in a review, and you could have beat them out. You could have beat them out. All right, let's get on to the air quote main slate. This is 7:00 slate here. So we have 5 games. We didn't really hit on the weather concerns. Little chance of showers, basically everything in the East Coast. Shouldn't be last night. Like, oh shit, it is going to rain. It's not going to be postponements, but it is going to rain. I was surprised they waited it out for 2 hours for the Nationals game.
Same.
It was kind of obvious that they could have it if they waited. I guess it's the end of the year. They already had the people in the ballpark, and by waiting, they enticed them to eat more concessions, right? So that was worth it to them, I guess. But on the main slate, most of the games are West Coast are indoors. So Texas, roof will be closed. Houston, roof probably will be closed tonight. Atlanta, chance of thunderstorms in Atlanta because it's August, September, but there's nothing that's going to stop the game. And then San Francisco and Anaheim. So you get those are night games there. So you'll get the Marine Layer, 6:00 start, but you'll get late inning Marine Layer at those. So let's start off with the first one here. Oakland at Texas. Kyle Mueller going against Nathan Eovaldi. Stephen Leibowitz, happy Nathan Eovaldi Day. Kyle Mueller is a batting practice pitcher, and I will just hand you that platter. I will put that on like a T-ball, right? I'm just going to set that there and tell you Kyle Mueller is a batting practice pitcher. Take it away, man.
He stinks. Texas looks good here. They are getting too much love, though. We saw this last night. Texas, they are, again, this doesn't matter for DFS purposes, but they've fallen hard. I mean, this is a team playing bad baseball. Their bullpen's been atrocious. Their lineup was so good in the first half of the season because they were so deep, 1 through 9. They were turning the lineup over a ton. They're not really doing that anymore. They're in a great spot here against Mueller. the ownership's there, though. Like, they're getting more ownership than the Braves. They're by far the highest owned team on the slate. So they do look good. Mueller is not good. The Oakland bullpen stinks. It's already there. No Adolis Garcia. So I know you have like a cheap Evan Carter in there. I'm just not really liking what I'm seeing from Texas right now. Saw them last night. Seager had a 2-run homer in the first inning. They scored one more run all game. They've lost a bunch in a row. They're falling hard. I think Texas is getting too much love here, knowing that they're in a really good spot against Mueller, and they still have good hitters, but there's other teams in good spots today. Atlanta, obviously, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, the Angels against Giolito. I don't know. I don't really think Texas should be far and away the highest owned team on the slate, but that's really the only thing bad I have to say about them. Like, just on a per player basis, they look like some of the best plays on the slate.
Mitch Garver healthy and against a lefty, and likely batting cleanup. Checks all the boxes. That there's your catcher of the slate. Pitching is going to be hard to come by on this one, aside from Logan Webb. So
it's funny because you have Logan Webb, who's like a lock. He's probably the best pitcher play we've had all weekend, at Colorado, against Colorado at home. But then after that, you're right. It gets really tricky because Eovaldi looks so good here, given how he's pitched most of the year against Oakland. But through 35 pitches in his first start back, he got lit up. Like, I don't trust that at all, and you get no discount. So continue with what you're going to say. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the point. I mean, 10,400 on DK. Great for 75 pitches.
Right.
But then you look at the rest of your choices: struggling Christian Javier, Seth Lugo against the Astros. By the way, I don't have it up, but I think this season the Astros have like a 150 WRC plus against right. Like, it was a number. Like, they used to have like 130s against lefties. I believe it was against righties, and unless I had screwed up my settings, because the Mariners were second, so I could have screwed up my settings there on Fangraphs. But holy cow, I don't really want to take Seth Lugo. Johan Oviedo going against the All-Star lineup, also known as the Braves. Dylan Dodd, okay, we can talk about him. Chase Anderson, no, thank you. Two teams this year, 6 teams in the last 5 years. No, we know what we're getting with him. Lucas Giolito, that we're going to have a fun little deep dive into this one, but he gets a remember me game. Like, hey guys, remember me? I made a couple starts for you this year.
I was awful for you.
Yeah, I don't want Tyler Anderson either. So, like, God, what do you think Webb is going to be? Do you think he gets above 60% on DK? Like, he's going to be 90% in cash games.
Even in the main contest, I think Webb comes in like close to 70%. In higher dollar, he'll be like 80 plus, because you just went through them all. He's the best pitcher on the slate. Matchup. He's not even the most expensive. Like, he just is blocks. You see Giolito getting the second most ownership tonight, and that kind of tells you all you need to know, because he's been flat out bad.
It was let's just say it was not good. I wrote him up for his last start. I thought this was going to be the turnaround. And he gave up like 3 home runs. There's your batting practice pitcher right now. It's just a mess. All right. So if you were going to any of the Oakland hitters, I'm not really getting leverage on them, but it's, against a less than 100% Eovaldi. Can you talk yourself into
Oakland's been more frisky lately. They've been more frisky lately. I don't really want to pick on Eovaldi just because I think he's good, even though he got shelled last time out. I do think that, like, Zach Geloff, he's got power speed upside. He's going to be unowned just because how the context of the slate works out. Lawrence Butler is really cheap. Like, there are guys you can use as pieces, but this is another one. Like, I just struggle seeing Oakland being a team like you want a full stack on this slate, or basically any slate ever, just because they don't have a ton of power. They don't run a lot. Even if they do get to Eovaldi here, it's so hard for me to see like them being the team that wins the slate. But to your point, one-offs, sure. Ryan Noda, Giloff, one of their catchers, whoever's in. Like, I don't mind those plays at all.
They do have power, but nobody gets on base via walks.
Right.
So,
and they don't run.
Yeah. How can you have a bases clearing double when nobody's on base? Right. That becomes a problem. So yeah, and no stolen bases. So
I will say though, it's funny. We don't care about this for DFS purposes, but if you look at Oakland and Texas's record over the past month, I would venture to say Oakland has a better record.
You would be shocked if you went and looked at it. It ends up not being. Oakland has won more than 3 consecutive games twice this year, and they are still on pace to just barely miss having a top 10 all-time worst win record. They should clear 50. I think it's 55 wins they need to get to not be in the bottom 10. They're on pace, I think, for 56. So, but yes, they are improved, because if you go back and look at the first half of their season, outside of that, 7-game winning streak they had, they didn't win at all. I mean, it took them until last month to get their second 3-game winning streak of the season.
Okay,
That's bad. I know this because I wrote it up in an article, so I'm semi-quoting from every year. I haven't looked at Texas other than a friend of the program, Melissa, messaged me and said, "Yeah, thanks for not saying it, but Texas was a sham. They've broken my heart already." So
we're both right, because you're certainly right in how bad Oakland's been. But over the past 30 days, Oakland is 13-17. Texas is worse than that.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. They've really fallen off.
Sorry.
They're not even in the playoff. Like, if the season ended today, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. They were leading their division almost all year.
Yeah. Wow. I hadn't seen that collapse. Yikes. All right, game number 2 here, San Diego at Houston. Lugo is going to be in the mix as an SP2, as is Christian Javier. Javier falling apart. He was like a luxury play the last couple seasons when you had the loaded Houston lineup. He was kind of their 6th starter, whatever. That's just, they were running hot for about 3 seasons, including the out of nowhere Justin Verlander Cy Young Award. Things have caught up to them. Framber Valdez is good, and he had a no-hitter this year, but not quite as what he has been. Javier's fallen off even more. I look at the back of the Padres lineup, and just how bad is that? For those listening only, we're looking at a projected back half of Garrett Cooper, Luis Campusano, Matt Batten, and Trent Grisham. Ew.
You haven't even really said how you feel about him, but I can tell we feel similarly about Javier. Like, he's not very good. He's having a bad year, but he's not expensive. And like, compared to Lugo, I think Lugo's the better DFS pitcher right now than Javier. I think we both agree there. But like, even with the top half of San Diego's lineup, it's still a much better spot than Houston. It just is.
Yeah. It is. So these guys, I'm probably going to cap them around 20% on DK. I'm going to need some SP2s. I can't play Logan Webb twice. I would if they would allow it.
Yeah, same.
But I can't.
These are the slates, and I know this is a cop-out, but these are the slates I prefer FanDuel. Now, I know a lot of people could say that, just because in my eyes, they're so clearly a pitcher. Now, again, this is assuming that FanDuel has the same slates as DraftKings. But like, there's just one pitcher that stands out so much above the rest. And I think you could make a reasonable case for Giolito, Hago, a couple guys cheaper than that. But I wouldn't be surprised if any of those guys got lit up.
Yeah, chat's a good point here, talking about Estuary Ruiz. Yeah, he's the classic. Billy Hamilton handed him the baton. Can steal any base.
He'll be hitting 9
first.
Probably. Yeah,
except first. That's a challenge. So yeah, makes it hard. This next one's going to be kind of fun. All right, Dylan Dodd does look like he is the starter. So he's in Atlanta. I think he's been up already. He is, and like all Atlanta prospects, pretty good one here. Gets a decent matchup going against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh will be running out a nearly entirely righty laden lineup here. So that's not going to be easy for him, but it's still Pittsburgh, and they have a ton of rookies in their lineup. I think if you add up all their rookies in their lineup, they collectively have 200 at bats against lefties this year. I'm slightly off, but barely. I haven't run those numbers in a couple weeks, but Andy Rodriguez, Lover Piero, Triolo, Lika Williams, etc. They don't have a lot of bats under their belt. Atlanta looks like Atlanta. They're awesome. What do you think about Johan Oviedo? Can he be lit up? Can he be a gas can for us tonight?
Probably. I mean, he's a decent pitcher. He's having a pretty good year. But if you were to say one of these is going to happen, which do you expect? Oh, this is a gem, or Atlanta crushes Oviedo? It's obviously Atlanta crushes Oviedo, just because they're Atlanta, and Oviedo's decent, but like they're Atlanta, so they're, he's nothing to as far as how good they are. They look like the top stack on the board. I think Dodd is the interesting talking point here, as you've alluded to. He's not great, at least at this point. He's pitched in the majors a little bit, hasn't had really good results, but it just falls back on what we talked about. There aren't any good SP2s on this slate. I don't view Dodd as that much different than Lugo, Javier, Giolito. He's cheaper in a better matchup. So am I going to be surprised if Pittsburgh gets to him today? No. But I also think that a middling outcome where he gets you 10 to 15 DK points is more than reasonable. And if he does that, he's a fine SP2.
Yeah, that's completely acceptable here. Does anybody want $250? I mean, raise your hand if you want $250. I want $250. All you got to do is sign up to Caesar Sportsbook coming in through our link. You make a $50 wager. If you've come in on our link, they will immediately give you a $50 bet credit. And then each of the next 4 Mondays, they will give you another $50 bet credit. You're going to win one of the 4 or one of the 5 bets. Well, technically 6 to break even if you just take 50-50 chances. It's a good way to do this. So jump on in there and get that action. They also have a lot of boosters and bonuses, etc., going on right now for NFL Sunday. So now's the time to join. Reminder, if you or anyone that you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, and the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or older. What if you're not in a state that has Caesar Sportsbook? Well, you could use the promo code KICKOFF15, that's KICKOFF15, for 15% off any Stochastic football package right now. That one's going to go away too. But if you sign up for Owner's Box, you get a month. You get plus a $500 deposit match and $10 in credits on their site. That's a good way to go. You leave the review for the 5-star review on the podcast. You get a chance here for a full year of Stochastic Sims. I'm giving you the goods because the stuff ends on tomorrow night. But there's a lot of ways to get in on stuff. But Caesars, that's the gift that keeps on giving, right? 4 more Mondays. You're going to wake up Monday morning, you're like, I lost on Sunday. That sucks. I hate DFS. Oh, I've got a $50 bet credit. Well, let's see what's going on for Monday Night Football right now, right? This is how it works, guys. This is how it works. Back to baseball here. We got 2 games left. We'll get these out in 10 minutes here so we can make way for Ben Raza and Matt Kajeski on College Football Live Before Lock. We've hinted about it. You've got the Colorado Rockies in San Francisco taking on Logan Webb. Let's get to some quick notes here on Webb. So he is, pretty good. And even though he's not quite having as good of a season as he had in the last 2, when you look at his ERA, he still ranks 17th in the league with a 3.5 ERA among qualified starters. He's 8th with a 1.1 whip. He last year had a career low 7.6 strikeouts per 9. He's up to 8.3 this season, which is not DFS awesome, but it's pretty damn good. And it's right around his career average. And then quality starts. He has 20 quality starts. That is behind only American League Cy Young frontrunner Garrett Cole, who has 21. So we're really going to want to look to Webb. Colorado's the 3rd highest strikeout rate over the last 30 days at 27% with a 150 ISO. That's a bottom 5 number, and that includes their last 2 Coors Field homestands. Their current hitters on their roster for Colorado has a 76 WRC plus. And here's where I hope I didn't have the settings screwed up. That's barely half of the 150 produced by the Astros against righties.
That's crazy.
That's wild. That's wild. Pinch hit risks. Are we worried about pinch hit risks? Yes, because it's the Giants. However, only 2 lefties in the Colorado bullpen, and one of them pitched yesterday. And he usually doesn't pitch on consecutive days, and he's a rookie, and he's not very good. The other one, 34-year-old Brett Sutter.
I don't know. Also, less worried about the pinch hit risk when they're facing a right-handed pitcher, just because, there's lefties to bring in. You already mentioned they only have 2. One of them pitched yesterday. I like San Francisco, both sides here, a lot. So as far as Webb goes, he's by far the best pitcher on the slate. As you mentioned, he's not having a supreme Logan Webb year, and he's not in the greatest form right now. But you look at his past 5 matchups at the Cubs, they're pretty good. The Reds at home, decent matchup. Atlanta back-to-back at home and on the road, and back-to-back starts, and Texas. So a really nice landing spot for him here against Colorado at home. Last time he saw the Rockies at home, complete out 10 Ks, 45 DK points. You don't expect a performance like that, but he's the guy on this slate that can do it. And then, man, I also like the Giants a lot here. So per our top stack tool, the Braves, the Rangers, the Guardians, and the Giants are the top teams. With the Braves, obviously, as the number 1 spot, they're really, really expensive. With those other teams, I actually like the Giants the most. The ownership's a little bit less than the other teams. Chase Anderson's not good. The Rockies bullpen is not good. Not a great ballpark. But I do think the ownership discount you're going to see from them compared to Texas, even Cleveland, is going to be worth it. So I like the Giants here. Chase Anderson's not good. Their bullpen stinks. A lot to like about everything San Fran here.
All right. Lucas Giolito, what the hell happened? 3 of his last 6 starts, he has allowed 3 home runs. He has allowed multiple home runs 9 times this year in 28 outings. I don't know what's happened. His deal, I know what happened. His deal with the devil expired. Remember when he was just a mess, then was awesome, allegedly because his high school coach talked to them, and this coach ended up on the pitching staff in Chicago and all of that. This
is also so baseball, just like Davis Snyder. Sorry to cut you off, but I think you'll agree.
Oh, absolutely. I had to live through this shit after the Nationals traded him for, who was it?
Adam Eaton.
Adam Eaton was on a World Series winning team, but really? Adam Eaton oh, God.
It's so funny how he was such a gas can at that point, and then he turned into a premier starter, and now he's teetering every other start. You don't know if he's going to be the premier starter or a gas can. I don't really know what to make of Giolito. The Cleveland paper was absolutely railing him after his last start, saying something's really wrong with him. Who knows? This is a play because there aren't good SB2s on the slate and because the Angels stink. Yeah. In that sense, I get it. Even though he's been poor and he gives up home runs, I do understand it.
I mean, do you think Ohtani plays again this year?
Nah.
I don't think he does either. I think it's more about the big contract than it is the MVP, right?
Same.
Especially with the whole elbow thing. But now the oblique and there's no point. No. I almost said no Tim Salmon. You know where my brain is. No Mike Trout. But we're the back of you want creative players. Trey Cabbage. How's that a name? Kyron Paris. These are made up names. Brett Phillips.
How about this? 2 nights ago, I used some of the Angels they were facing. Gosh, I can't even remember. Mickey Moniak scratched right before the game started. Uh-huh. But the other guy I used, Luis Rengifo, who was coming off AL Player of the Week, hurt himself in the on-deck circle, swinging the bat. Yeah. So he is now hurt.
He's out. Anthony Rendon permanently on the injured list. Anthony Rendon wrenched his back with that $200 million contract he got.
Yeah.
This is just it's bad team. So Mike Moustakas, Matt Tice, Eduardo Escobar, Brandon Drury, those guys are all fine. They're going against Giolito, right? I'm playing both sides, and I watch Giolito pitch a quality start, and the Angels get 4 extra base hits. Great. I lost on both counts.
Right.
Yeah. But there we are. There we are. All right. Tyler Anderson, and how you feeling about your Guardian hitters here to wind us down?
Tyler Anderson isn't very good. The Guardians aren't very good. They don't have a ton of power. They're in a nice ballpark upgrade, though, and they are facing Tyler Anderson. So I view them in the tier 1 group of stacks. Atlanta, Texas, Cleveland, and San Francisco. They're last for me in that group, though. I like Atlanta the best, then San Fran, then probably Texas, then Cleveland. That's just my opinion. The numbers view them all similarly, except Atlanta. Cleveland's been getting a decent amount of love the past couple of days. Like, they're cheap. I get it. Ramon Laureano, the top of their lineup specifically looks good. I have more interest here in the Guardians than I do Tyler Anderson. Probably more as like one-offs or mini stacks, though. Just not a team I get excited about full stacking. If there was a slate to do it, though, it's tonight.
All right. Obi-Wan, I do want to call it. Yes, I was incorrect. I don't know why. In my mind, I thought it was going to be 78 for the game starting in Anaheim today. It's actually 88 for a local game time start. So that essentially mitigates the marine layer. The marine layer will still occur, but it'll take longer for it to get there. So
sure.
Thank you for setting me straight on that one. I think that's going to wrap it up. What do you got for home runs today?
For home runs today, let's go with – there was someone on the early slate. Let me pull it back up. I am going to go with Ryan Mountcastle.
Okay. I will take on the early slate Isaac Paredes.
Love that.
And then on the main slate, let's find us a good one here. We're not doing the Neil Orfield. We're not going with Matt Olson. You know what? We're going with Mike Moustakas.
I respect that.
Do you respect Ramon Laureano batting cleanup for your Cleveland Guardians? Why did the Oakland cut him? I don't know.
I don't get that. Like, he was their best player for a couple of years. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm very happy to have him in Cleveland. Speaking of baseball and weird stuff, I just want to ask you real quick because I know we get it a little bit shorter. So George Kirby last night went into the 7th inning and he got hit up a little bit in the 7th inning against Tampa. So after the game, they were, he was doing his press interview or whatever, and he was frustrated and he was like, "I wish I wasn't out there in the 7th inning." He said that. And Jared Weaver, good old Jared Weaver from years past, ripped George Kirby a new one for saying that. And how these players are so soft, blah, 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 blah. Do you have a take on that?
So I wondered who they were talking about because I saw Jared Weaver and he was tweeted by, I can't remember who, another pitcher. And I just happened to see that they were saying the veterans would have ripped me a new one. I wanted to be out there for the first out. I wanted to be out there for the last out. I didn't realize they were talking about it was in reference to Kirby there. Yes and no, right? You want your pitchers to be gamers, right? But I can think of so many times where the pitchers, they don't do it as much now because everybody just goes to the bullpen because we've got so many people that can touch 100 miles an hour, right? But in the 80s and 90s, the pitchers would go out there when they had no business being out there. They would be laboring and they would shake off the manager. Like Max Scherzer now. There was a Max Scherzer on every team. It's just, and it wasn't like the Nolan Ryans of the world either. It was just like, really? You're going to get him out of there, right? This looks like a tomato can. Not Dennis Oil Can Boyd, but a tomato can.
I think hearing him say
Did you see I slid in Dennis Oil Can Boyd?
Yeah, that's amazing. I think him saying it is what rubbed them the wrong way. Like, you don't want to hear your pitcher say, but again, it's such a new day and age. Like, that's how these players are taught and how they're brought up. Like, I can't really fault Kirby at all there, even though you probably don't want to hear him say that. Like,
you don't want to hear him say that, but I don't know the respects right. I acknowledge the self-awareness, right? If you just don't have it, you've got arms in the bullpen that can do it, good. 2, even if now let's look at a selfish mode where you don't want to stay out there to get knocked around because it's going to impact your next contract, right? Because
such
guess
a
what?
fine
Starters
line.
don't get as much money anymore because there's so many people that can throw, and pitching has become fungible at this point, except for the true frontline starters, right?
Yeah, so true.
Tis what it is. Well, it's true that we got to get out of here because we have college football live before lock coming up next on the Stochastic YouTube channel. We mentioned the Caesars promo. Bet $50, get 5 $50 bets coming through the link in the YouTube description below us here. Podcast people, you're listening now. The podcast is about to end. Go leave a review because on Monday we're announcing one winner who leaves the best review. It can be whatever you want. It can be funny. It can be sad. It can be emotional. It can be whatever you want. And if it's the best that Lofty and Ben and I think Greg choose from, then you're going to get a full season of NFL Sims. You can sign up at Owner's Box. Sign up through our link below us here. Make a $10 deposit, and you're going to get a month of the NFL Sims package. They're going to give you 2 $5 credits on their site, but you can also deposit up to $500, and they will give you a deposit bonus match up to $500. So you got a lot of ways to get some money here. The week 1 of the NFL, you're going to want this stuff. It seems like there's promos and stuff everywhere. These are going to all be gone by week 3, and then you're going to have to wait till basketball till something appears. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Follow Matt on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. I am at EMac DFS, and of course, it is Stochastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.